So, Madeleine Mccann and her disappearance. Like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as that ID Go app. You might want to get those two things combined and make them into one. So, her disappearance, Madeleine McCann's disappearance. When I first heard of the story years back, what made me question, and I didn't fully go thorough and deep because we will be here hours all day. That's not even I just made that up on the spot, right? Hours all day. But the very first thing that came to my mind was, could one of the resort employees took the young child? Say the parents left out the room, right? They left to go have dinner and they left the kids in the room, right, alone. What I thought was maybe one of the employees could have seen the couple together and waited. There's in fact people that onlook you, not really onlook you, but watch you from a distance, from afar, and they be employees, yes, and they in fact say walk and creep and sneak into a room to take a child, and you come and you check on the child and the child is no longer there, as in nowhere to be found. I'm not gonna say laid to rest. I that sort of thing, that's for another video, right? You don't never know what happens with these situations, but the parents do in fact look guilty. They in fact look very guilty with that. That's not to say that they are guilty. That's just to say how the situation, everything played out when it comes to dogs sniffing about a apartment resort, as well as sniffing the vehicle. That's what makes them in fact look guilty. But otherwise, once again, if I didn't know any better and if I didn't try to figure out what that's in fact my situation here, trying to scope and to see, right, I would in fact have thought an employee would have taken the young child. Possibly somebody, as I stated before in the opening of the video, somebody that just waited, paid attention to the couples and all the rest, as in watched them from afar and then snuck in and took the young child, right? People do all type of things. So the questions I have, the more you question this young child situation, it almost feels as if you're going 360 or 280, like you're getting halfway there and yet not completely. And that's when the questions start to feel generic over time. The very useful thing about having internet is the fact that police can in fact go there and scope out what people are saying and get the public's input of possibilities. So my questions, this is all generic. It goes back to and yet I more am in question of sleeping pills. But if Madeleine died, could Madeleine's parents have covered up her death? Another thing while I'm placing these questions here is for you, the viewer, to answer me back. I want you to tell me the possibilities. That's the point of this video more than anything. Your comments. That's what the point of the video is, right? More so than, say, discovering where she is. So if Madeleine died, could Madeleine's parents have covered up her death? That's not, I'm sorry to keep cutting this off. That's not to devalue the child's where she is, her whereabouts. But remember, comments, yes, they're highly valuable. I just said that. They can lead to you finding a child. Comments are in fact, yes, that's what is in fact needed everywhere, all across. That will be the thing that will in fact bring her home if she is still alive. So if Madeleine died, could Madeleine's parents have covered up her death? If her death was accidental, what could the accident have been? All generic, right? If a child such as Madeleine died, what ways could a death be accidental? If you got, because see, they were siblings. This almost sounds like Asia Degree situation, and yet it doesn't. A child that is say possibly, if there's an accidental death, is surrounded by other children. That's where the 360 degrees point in. If there's a child laying in bed and she's asleep and you got parents coming in to check on her, right? One parent came in and then another parent came in an hour later. Siblings, that's the ask, how light would those siblings sleep? With that, if the child died by accident, would one of those siblings would have heard anything with that? Right? So, two question, did Madeleine have sleeping issues? Police and all the rest question that. I question breathing issues. Could a young child have had breathing issues? But I don't think parents would want to cover that sort of thing if the child had medical issues and say she died in her sleep or something. They would in fact want law enforcement to know. I'm thinking and guessing because even things public wise could be changed. There could be laws and all the rest, regulation and all the rest, if say a child has a sleeping condition or any other type of medical condition and she dies and then the parents hide that sort of thing. I don't think they would want to hide that. I think they would want the public to know that there was any type of condition with medical condition within the child, because that helps other people in the public is what I'm trying to say. So did Madeleine's parents ever use anything to help her sleep or give her anything such as a sleep aid to quiet her down, because they knew that they would be leaving her to go eat at the resort's restaurant? Parents oftentimes give their children sleep aids to quiet them down. That is in fact known. That's the number one point of this video. That's to say, once I ask that, that's kind of the end of the video in a sense, because you will want to question all around that in itself. If there was no kidnap at play, if the father or mother didn't purposely murder the girl, or if there was no accident, you would want to question a sleeping aid. Some children in fact have separation anxiety, which is why the parents sometimes give sleep aids to children. There's been parents that have been known to give adult doses of Benadryl, right, to calm and quiet a child, because they know they're going to leave the child, and yet the child possibly might cry. They know the child is used to crying when they leave out the door or something like that. That could have been one of those situations or something, because see, there's nobody nowhere to be found to scope into the body for analysis to see will the child was in fact given sleeping pills. But the separation anxiety, it wasn't known whether Madeleine had that or not. That was just my question. But could at any time could she have suffered from separation anxiety or any type of anxiety? That's where a child, I just stated that, is where a child cries and cries when their parent leaves the environment. Separation anxiety, for some, that depending on state, country, and the rest with that, where you live, medically, you have where in the medical field where she lived and stayed, separation anxiety might not have been labeled specifically a medical condition. She might not have been treated for that. So when the mother was asked, well, did Madeleine have any illnesses? That sort of thing wouldn't have came up if it wasn't named by a doctor. So that's to say that sort of thing, separation anxiety, could have fell under the radar if it did exist. Because a parent that has a child that say cry, if Madeleine did, if a parent has a child that cries when the parents leave, that's to say even a parent sometimes wouldn't put a label to that. And yet you have, because remember, she didn't live in America. Here in America, we put a name to everything. The child is crying. Oh my God. Even if the dog is crying. My dog has separation anxiety. Other lands sometimes don't do that sort of thing. They in fact treat things naturally. It depends once again on the environment, the land, country, wherever you live specifically, right? Over here you're pacified with medication, and yet not all the time on the outer walls of the US, right? And so that would in fact have to be questioned more thoroughly. Something within this young child's situation, it almost seems like if she did die and it was accidental, that it could have been an overdose of something, and it could have been for a calming. The other children, they may or may not know, because depending on if one child is riled up, that is too to question how hyper could Madeleine be. That's questioning her whole mental well-being, whether she was treated by a doctor or not. A doctor would in fact have her whole case and file enough to pull. And yet once again, even separation anxiety can be viewed as serious, and yet if you're not treated, it can be viewed as generic as well. Remember, you're not treated by a doctor, right? So, could there have been an accidental overdose? Could there have been an accidental overdose of the child and the parents aren't saying? This in fact, the reason why I asked this is in fact the main specific reason. If there was a supposed sighting of Madeleine being carried outside, that's to say death could have been there if it was true, as well as an overdose on top of that, and no outside medical conditions with that. See what I'm saying when I said it's almost like you're going in a circle 360? You're constantly asking something, and yet you're asking the same thing over and over again. It almost seems like, because when it comes to accidental overdose, there's dosage in that. So could Madeleine's parents, I'm gonna go rewind again, could Madeleine's parents have provided a drug too strong for her body? Because dosage is in fact based upon body weight. And yet not, sometimes adults are well-thinking adults, and yet not all the time. Pertaining to, well, I gave her this much, I'm going to give her a little bit more. Just to keep her calm, quiet, or whatever with that. While we leave out to go have dinner. That way she's quiet enough to sleep, right? There's a dosage body weight in that. It just is what it is. Parents would in fact want to cover that sort of thing, because to get too far over the dosage is to say that's going to lead to issues with that. A possible stopping of the breathing. And you will possibly, not sorry to keep saying possibly, but possibly so, you would want to take the child. Would you want to turn yourself in? I'm thinking I would, because I having hands dirty with that. If they accidentally kill your child. But not everybody can handle that mental torment of sitting behind the four walls of a jail cell. They would rather just take the body elsewhere and hide it, and possibly grieve in silence away from the public with that, and leave everybody to question that. So when it comes to how before everything, I should have did the opening. I like to ask questions sometimes, to flip the game, as to say, right? The story was, in fact, Madeleine Mccann was last seen sleeping next to her siblings in a holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, yes, a resort in Portugal. Parents of Madeleine, Kate, this is her parents, Kate and Jerry Mccann, put the children to bed and was dining at the restaurant of the resort. That's why I spoke about the employees, if they could have seen anything or got in on something, right? Which was about 50 yards away from the room. 9 adults altogether. There were 9 adults altogether, Madeleine's parents as well as family friends, on the vacation. When I think about that, you can question all, yes, outside of the parents. You can in fact want to intrude on that by questioning those other adults, despite the parents looking like suspects. You don't just want to go in one direction. You want to go in various directions. So Jerry was the last to see Madeleine when he checked on her at around 9 p.m. And then Kate, Madeleine's mother, checked on Madeleine an hour after Jerry did. That was around 10 p.m., noticing that she was gone. So the family friends. If you got family friends that were in the same environment at a resort, close nearby as Madeleine and yet not within the same room, right? And Madeleine's parents are in fact receiving public scrutiny. That's to say, those individuals that was family friends should receive just as much public scrutiny. Because the reason why I'm saying that, because look, parents, say if somebody, the mother or the father, accidentally did something to the child or has something to do with, say, even her death. Sometimes people hide that and they can be shooken up within internally, and they don't show other people, and yet sometimes they do. They can tell a close friend to the family what in fact happened, and that in fact be the secret amongst the two individuals. Or the secret could just be within Madeleine's mother and father if they had anything to do with it. But say the family friends or one or two of the family friends know of the situation. That's why you want to put the focus on the outside of the family just as much as you put it on the inside of the family. That's a stringing of the connection of the dots. Some people are able to keep secrets and take it to their death. And yet you never know how Madeleine's mother, if there was a possible death, if she didn't kill her, if she didn't shake the child half to death or anything like that. Because she was, look, the mother or the father. I'm thinking the mother would more likely be pleading and emotional if she didn't have anything to do with the young child's possible disappearance. I say death because you don't know. It just looks like death, right? When you scope into it, right? Especially because of a sighting that was supposedly seen, if that was real or not, right? Who's to say that mother, if she do know anything, who's to say that mother didn't tell whoever was at the resort with them, a family friend, how traumatic she feels if anything did go down or was at play? And say that other individual has useful information vital to police. That's why it helps to keep the focus on everybody that was involved in the situation and not just the parents. Because people talk. Sometimes. Those that are able to keep secrets and take it to their death, take it to their grave. Sometimes they don't tell. I just said that already. I'm repeating that 2 times, and yet you never even know. Even females are known to need emotional support. So that will be to ask the question of how was Madeleine's mother or her emotional well-being, emotional stability, how was that after the disappearance? And could any of her, if she was emotionally stable or unstable, when a child goes missing, that's to upset anybody. Some people go into fits of rage, right, because they can't find their child, but if they had something to do with it. People close by or family friends will be able to scope into that if there's some type of guilt or something, even if a person is acting or something. I'm thinking helps to analyze with that and possibly have a little paranoia when you're questioning people, right? Because even paranoia can help answer things in which you don't think. When you start to question too much, yes, that's not no schizophrenia or anything like that. That's just being logical and bringing reasoning with that. Saying, well, something about this don't seem right, seems real sketchy with that. Let me go try to peer in, right? So the question of why is the family friends given so much freedom to just not receive public scrutiny? They're just free to roam around. Like, that just doesn't make sense. But not only that, they were given freedom because everybody has the right to have freedom, right? Freedom to roam freely around the resort. Freedom is there. We all have freedom. And yet it was the same resort Madeleine was sleeping in. Because see, if one of them family friends would have taken the time, as in been given privilege by Madeleine's parents for a family friend to go check on Madeleine, that will pinpoint to a family friend and not just the parents, which could be why the family friends are in fact have been moved from public light to say, well, no family friends went in to check to do all this and that and this amongst Madeleine isn't a thorough. You still have to. That just don't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. You want to put people there that in fact might not have been there because there's close ties in that. Family friends is just that. I just said, right? That's a no-go, bypassing people. Anybody could have had access to this young child's room as she slept and as her parents were checking on her. Does room service come in at night or does it not? Or in the daytime or does it not? Or in midday? That's the thing. So the family friends, how close could they have been with a young Madeleine? I'm sure they treasured and adored her. That's to not say any pedophiles was there. There's just something missing or something. I don't know what that is. Family friends, yes, are known to keep secrets in which sometimes FBI, because even when I made the video, and that's a common, about the mother, the YouTube mother, when she didn't kill her kids, she was in fact beating them and pepper spraying them in one of my last videos. And her sons knew, her two sons, which were later charged, they kept that a secret. The sons, right? They were not family friends, but you see what I'm saying about ties, the closeness. You don't ever walk past close ties just because you say, well, we don't think that they did anything. We don't think that they would know anything. The YouTuber I was speaking on, the mother that beat her children to get them on the camera so that they can do skits and all the rest for her. Her sons kept the secret of her beating on the kids. People, in fact, keep secrets and ties, and close ties, and family friends be those individuals. So there was a supposed sighting of Madeleine being carried 45 minutes before she was reported missing. That has already been stated that's in fact going on today, where people in fact call police and say, oh, we think we seen Madeleine, right? We all have like 5 or 6 different lookalikes ourselves, right? I've been told I look like such and such that I'm sorry. Why did I go? I just jumped. I'm sorry. But when it comes to, you don't never know, but that can point in as well. The sighting of, say, a man carrying, this in fact points in with that as well. If a man is carrying a child, or it looks like that, who's to say that could in fact have been another father carrying a child? Remember, you're at an apartment resort, right? Young children have been known to fall to sleep in cars, in houses, in homes, in apartments, in resorts. And fathers or mothers have been known to scoop them up, right? And carry them. But if the vehicle in which the child was carried to, the lookalike, she can't really see in the dark, and yet some people are able to see, right? The sightings. Saying, well, I seen such and such. I seen such and such. That may or may not have been him. I just said that. We all have people that look like us. 5 or 6 individuals, right? Doppelganger, however you pronounce the wording with that, right? And yet, who's to say that could have been another individual? But the weird part about that is the car. When you got dogs that sniff to see if there was any human blood surrounding, that's what's so questionable about the whole situation. To say, well, we seen an individual, a sighting 45 minutes before she was reported missing. We seen a grown man carrying the child. It was more unlikely Madeleine's father carrying the child. And then later on, the sniffing dogs sniff and throw a fit at the same vehicle which belonged to the family. Temporarily belonged to the okay, so there hasn't been much evidence to go on in disappearance of Madeleine, or Madeleine's disappearance. I just changed that, rotated it. So Madeleine's mother was questioned 48 questions. She was specifically questioned 48 questions over an 11-hour interrogation. But instead of answering, she used her right to remain silent. And she only spoke once. But why did she only speak once? People that oftentimes only speak once, that in itself is questionable, as in what is hidden. I don't like stuff like that, because then it makes you question, the father, was he known to be abusive secretly? And could that be why a mother would only speak once, and using her right to speak once? There's grown men that are, and that's not to say he was one of those individuals. That's not to even say today, because she could have been the one that had something to do with it and lied. She possibly could have killed the child and lied about it. Mother or father could have been abusive, is what I'm trying to say. You don't know. And yet somebody's covering for somebody, because to only use a right to speak once, as to say, well, what's up underneath that? Okay, so some of the questions Madeleine's mother were asked were, did Maddie suffer from any illnesses? That was like one of the first questions. Another question, did Maddie take medications? When you question, because see, look, a parent, I just said that in the beginning of the video, giving Benadryl as opposed to giving a prescription, to give a child Benadryl or something like that, or a strong sleeping aid, or even store-bought sleeping aid, whatever, right? You would in fact want to go back, even police, I'm sure they did, even want to go back on the mother or father's medical history to see if even they were given medication that they could have been distributing to the child. That's how far I go in questions and analysis, right? Breaking things down. The sleeping aid is not going to really be viewed as a medication. If that question, did Maddie take medications, the mother, if she has something to do and guilt is there, was there, whatever, right? It's to say she wouldn't have answered that question. But once again, a sleeping aid in relation to medications, there's somewhat of a difference. Here in America, we see it as a difference. I don't know about over there specifically. But if I'm taking a sleeping aid and somebody asks me, well, what medications do you take? If a person don't have any health conditions, I'm going to possibly say none. I'm taking none. Even if I'm taking a sleeping aid or was given a sleeping aid. So, sleeping issues. They question, the mother of Maddie was questioned, did you have sleeping issues and did you work every day? Did you have sleeping issues and did you work every day? That's where you question her medical history, the mother, more so than the child. Did you have sleeping issues and did you work every day? That's odd in itself. Did you work every day? Because to say that the family was on vacation, that's like almost as if you're looking to find a lie or something. When you ask that, did you work every day, knowing they were on vacation? That's kind of off. So I can kind of sense that the young child wasn't kidnapped. It just seems like that was a no-go, right? As in, it's possible it didn't happen. I could be wrong. Many of us could be wrong, right? So the having no evidence. Once again, there was not enough evidence, and yet that family car still stands questionable since the dogs, which detect blood, the dogs reacted to the family's apartment at the resort, as well as the dogs reacted to the family's rental car weeks after Madeleine's disappearance. Why would dogs react like that if there was nothing? Remember, very highly well equipped, trained dogs. Why would they react to not only the family's apartment at the resort, but the rental car as well? Why would those dogs react like that if nothing was done to Madeleine? Remember, the dogs sniff. They're to detect blood. That's why, because dogs like that that's a multi-purpose dog, right? And yet if a dog is to detect blood, is to ask, once again, could violence have been there within one of those parents? Some parents have been known to knock a child in the head or something, or across the face and then the nose bleeds or something like that. That is not to say that blood was within the vehicle. That's not to say that sort of thing. No. That's just to give light of possible abuse or something. No dog is gonna be detecting, okay, well, she could have been here. But also too, when it comes to nightwear, how children have nightwear and say blood is found and this and that, right? There's so many ways to question up and down, you guys. You don't understand with that. Physical sexual abuse on blood being on nightwear. It's all type of ways with analysis with that, because see, if say blood or anything like that is on a child's nightie or anything, that can point to molestation. If blood was, say, out of the nose, that can point to a violent tendency in either parent. It just, the whole situation in the case, everything about it is strange. It just is. And if say something happened and say one of the parents did, say if there was an accidental death or even purpose, it's just so interesting That's not to say that they did anything, but it's questionable the things that people are allowed to get away with. Is all I'm trying to say. So the McCanns hired their own private investigators, but the family or their investigators didn't share any information. Oh, I'm sorry. They hired their own private investigators, but they didn't share any information with Portuguese police. And yet Portuguese police went back in to do further investigation. As a reinvestigation, right? To comb through to see if anything was missed or anyone. And they should have. So the questions in which have been asked, could there have been a burglary gone wrong? These are questions which have been asked, and it's not, I'm just going to ask 3 to keep the video short, right? Could there have been a burglary gone wrong? Portugal police have asked, could there have been a burglary during the time Madeleine was asleep, and say she woke up as a burglary was taking place, which could have led to her being kidnapped. The detectives, Portuguese detectives, they never took that question serious. You know how you rule this out or you rule that out, or what could have been a possibility with this or that, right? They never took that as an option, in a sense, as a possibility. So number 2 question: sex attacks targeting young children Maddie's age during that time period. Could such have occurred to her involving kidnap, since there was a string of children 8, 9, and 10 years old who were being attacked while sleeping in areas outside of where the McCann stayed at the resort? That was in fact a question as well. Could there have been a kidnap? Seeming sex attacks was going on around the time and outside of the area. There were like 3 or 4 different locations that sex attacks was going on, and so that had to be questioned as well. Number 3, could Madeleine have wandered off and fell into a trench or a drain area? Drain area. And in questioning that, there hasn't been enough evidence of such occurring. There hasn't been enough evidence of that sort of thing taking place. So it's also sad when you have missing children and you're not knowing. Because once you start to question this, to say, man, you're gonna more likely be questioning for years to come. This just happens to be one of those situations where you question so much it feels almost as if you're not getting anywhere and it's not leading to anything, and yet you want to keep hope alive in the questioning. You don't ever want a case like this to die out. It can't ever die out, because as long as she's not there, to say it has to continue to be questioned, even if you continue to roam in a circle with that. Madeleine Mccann, an ID murder mystery. She has to continue to be questioned. The case. It'll more than likely be 40, 50 years from now, and police will still be questioning. That's how it happens. So we are in fact on investigationdiscovery.com. The ID logo sits in the far left, right? Yes. Madeleine is sitting right here. To gain access as an audio visual preview is to click the play button. You can in fact add to watch later by clicking the plus sign. I keep getting tongue tied. That's how it happens. Clicking the plus sign. you yourself can come to investigationdiscovery.com. Season 1, episode 1, you guys should in fact be checking that out. You should. It's good. Yes, it is. Because, see, look, questioning is the most noticed. It's the most vital. It helps improve your logic and reasoning skills. If you can take a young child's face like this and walk a circle in 360 degrees, is to say something might pop out to you never even thought of. That's why more individuals should in fact, instead of laughing and playing all day, should in fact tune in to Investigation Discovery. Because to watch a show and say, well, the questions are there, and yet while questions are being asked, you yourself once again might say, well, I don't really believe or feel that this story is true. I believe it's this way, or I believe it's that way. You watching, in fact, have a right to say that, as well as a right to leave comments, yes, on either platform, of what you do agree with or what you don't agree with. That too is how cases have been solved. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm repeating everything I stated in the very beginning of this video, and yet there needs to be more people that question further, as in be more vocal with that. Because just because something looks one way doesn't mean, remember, that's face value. To put something there is to say, well, it could be that, and yet it might not in fact be that. It might in fact be something else up underneath when someone goes missing. It could be a whole, you don't ever want to take anything at face value, especially when it involves a child. Because there's a lot in which I'm not even saying to cut the video down to at least 45 minutes or so is to say it doesn't serve justice to even Madeleine, right? But the question for 10 hours, which leads to months, which leads to years, is to say that's in fact the proper way. That's in fact the proper way. And I think what I don't like in this day and age is, okay, there's various people that in fact have their favorite celebrity, right? Mine's is Janet Jackson. You got Oprah that's sitting there, right? And yet there's so much focus put on famous people more than is put on these missing children of all races, nationalities, colors, and all the rest, right? Not enough emphasis and focus is put on these missing children the way it is placed on famous people. If you're going to watch famous people, do it side by side, as in have the missing child there. There's a time to see them and try to analyze and question that. And then you have the famous person you love, admire, and adore. You put them there. That equates to balance in life. That's saying, well, real life is there. That's Madeleine missing, or missing children being missing, or whoever done got shot and killed in the news. That's real life. That's one side of that's one edge over here. And then you got famous people that you watch over here. You don't be unbalanced in life where you just focus on famous people, celebrities all day. Remember, you're trying to know those people and they're not trying to know you. The average famous person don't care all too much about everyday people like that. They live in limelight, which is what they get paid for. And yet if they really cared, they wouldn't need security, bodyguards, and all the rest. People might say, well, they can get shot and killed. Well, they will trust you just enough to know that could happen, but they will be willing to take the chance, right? I focus on both. I'm going to focus on missing children just as much as I focus on famous people. That's just me. And my favorite famous person is in fact Janet Jackson. And when it comes to missing children, Asia Degree, as well as Madeleine, that's not to play favoritism. No, it's not. And yet there's only so much time on the hands when you're questioning and trying to analyze and pick apart stuff, right? When I first saw this child's story, I said, well, this just doesn't seem right. The things that people are able to get away with and just go on and live their life as if nothing. I'm saying because a child being there, I can see if it was a grown person, that's different. But yes, we are right here on Investigation Discovery. You can in fact preview, as I just stated before, the Atlanta child murders. You want to check that out as well. Society in itself. When it comes to missing children, it's always the percentage. When it's high, it's usually parents oftentimes are involved, and usually even immediate family. No, depending on how kept the secret is. That's just telling the truth. Parents are oftentimes involved. That's not saying Madeleine's parents are. I keep saying that. But a lot of times, yes, parents are in fact involved with that. So on last night, the key stands right there. To gain access is to provide your provider, whoever you're subscribed to, because that is in fact exclusive. That is the only way you're going to be able to preview to get in. Unlock series, you can in fact scroll and roam through this yourself or check it out. There's a channel for that, I stated. Recommended for you. Shouts out to Paula as well as Lieutenant Joe Kenda. That is my dude. It in fact is. ID Go original series. Love to John Walsh as well. And may his son Adam rest in peace. Have a tip. Help. Yes. Help with the pursuit. Help in the pursuit. If you have any information on a case featured on the show, please call 1-833-3-PURSUE, or you can fill out the form online. Submit it here. Schedule preview. Crime Feed news. Crime Feed. To gain access to the Crime Feed is a click within here. You would in fact be directed, yes, guided and directed to the outside, the Crime Feed. Crimefeed.com. Full of the latest, greatest in mayhem. Murder sits on top of it. Think I'm joking? I'm not. To receive a newsletter from Investigation Discovery is to, in fact, type your email address in and click next. I'm, in fact, sitting on the next button, and yet it's there. The saddest thing is missing children. Or if they're not children and say they're dead and gone, missing children. That's the worst. It can get no more bad than that. So leave a comment as you will. The comment section is open for you. And that is all. May you enjoy your day, and I will in fact enjoy my day. And I'm ending out now. Stay blessed and all.